Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Easy Does It. Here we look at staple concentrates and how to use them. So its application, simple recipes that use this staple concentrate, and then also potentially subs that you can, sub this out for and what the consequences might be of using that sub. Today's show is all about cream fresh. We touched on this, but then, there was a high demand to cover this on its own. So let's talk about cream fresh on its own. We were talking about it plus vanilla swirl. And what we were saying in that episode, if you go and look at the vanilla swirl episode, if you buy a new fruit and you want to be messing around with it to try and see what it works with, you're probably going to go with cream fresh, vanilla swirl, or with cream fresh and vanilla swirl, or with jelly candy to see if it takes to, a dessert kind of recipe or a creamy kind of recipe or a candy kind of recipe better. And then make a decision on what route you want to go. You don't necessarily, when you develop recipes, you have a profile in your mind and you're trying to work towards it. You can also start out with messing around with the concentrate and let that kind of like emerge into, a profile that you're building up, and let that guide you. I think the catchphrase there is emergence, So you heard it here first. Back to back to cream fresh. I looked at e-liquid recipes, and it's used in 120,000 recipes. So I mean, it's on par with vanilla swirl. I think a little bit more popular than vanilla swirl actually. The suggestions over here, so I'll call out the suggestions, and then maybe Richard, you can run us through how you would use it, how you've seen it being used. But the medium suggested is 1.4% in recipe, and standalone 2.6. Okay. So, Richard, what do you make of this?
Okay. Sorry, just checking the ATF stats on it. It's used in 8,380 recipes at an average of 1.18%. For me, cream fresh it's the cream of first resort. If I was a DIYer starting out, cream fresh is the very, very first cream that I would buy before any other. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first is that it does have a mild dairy note, but it doesn't mess too much with your flavors that you add with it. It doesn't have that sort of tangy, cheesy, or sweetened, or vanilla, or that slightly sour note that you get from many other creams. It's just a very neutral, like a glass of thickened milk. So if you're looking for that sort of trademark thickening and solidifying that a cream adds to a fruit, that smoothing and solidifying effect that a cream has, cream fresh will get you very close to that without messing too much with the flavor, without imparting its own distinctive flavor over and above the fruit. And it's very easy to mix with. It's quite a potent flavor. As you can see, the median mixing ratio is just over 1%. So you can really take 1.5% of cream fresh, throw that at almost anything, a toffee, a fruit, a nut, a licorice, almost anything. And it just smooths, it knocks the edges off, it thickens it, it solidifies it, but it doesn't push it in a whole new direction. So in terms of versatility, the sky's the limit. There's almost nothing that cream fresh can't be used with. So as such, it would be the very first cream in my stash as a DIY.
Yeah, Richard. So, extremely important point there is I mean, if you're going to compare cream fresh with any other creams, you're probably going to be comparing it with, I think it's TFA whipped cream and Vienna cream FA, right? If you're going to be comparing, because I think those three creams are the lighter creams that gives you body without, you know, um, giving you a heavy cream. I think Vienna cream will, I mean, it on the nose, Vienna cream has got a kind of like an alcohol-y kind of nose to it. TFA whipped cream has got the same kind of effect, so it adds that cream note, but it doesn't give you butter, it doesn't give you vanilla, it doesn't give you egg, right? And also, if you look at TFA dairy milk, that's such a heavy dairy, that it's a very dairy. Where cream fresh is a little bit more creamy without that heavy dairy. Now trying to distinguish between these two, words kind of fail me. But my best bet there would be is to just do like a back of the hand test with dairy milk, and you can almost taste the cow in dairy milk. Where in cream fresh, it feels like a lightly whipped. Lightly whipped cream. So you don't get you don't get that milkiness. You get a lightly whipped cream. And yeah, like Richard was saying, adding body to a mix or just messing around with it. If you bought a new fruit and you want to mess around with it, this would be one of the first things you kind of throw at it. Or if you're experimenting with recipe development, this is the one to get. Back in the day, we were using Vienna cream and whipped cream, and those two things had its pros and cons. And then, when I started hearing about fresh cream and got hold of it, it was the solution for me, because and it almost made Vienna cream null and void, where that was kind of used in almost everything. I don't see it being used that much anymore. So yeah, Deetz, how do you use it?
I actually use cream fresh quite a bit in all my, anything I mixed recently, or I think I've been mixing for about the past year and a half to 2 years. I initially mixed with VBig for the purpose of cream, later found the whipped cream, and someone mentioned on the forum to me cream fresh when I ran out of whipped cream. Now, I only stuck with cream fresh since I found it because it's very versatile again. It really goes a long way in little quantities. It really helps fruit recipes a lot, and that was my main purpose. A lot of the fruit juices I mix, especially the ones with that vibrant, punchy type of flavors, they tend to be over harsh. Not only after this, some mellow out after the steep, but there's still a very sharp harshness, especially with the lime stuff or guava or peach, even peach. There's a lot of people say peach has a very scratchy feel to itself. So for me, I mixed all my fruit recipes and I found them a little bit empty. And with the cream fresh, what it added to me was almost like, if I can say, before the cream fresh, it was like a translucent background with the fruits on top, where with the cream fresh there's a white background with the fruits where you can taste them. I used to taste all my single flavors with vanilla bean ice cream in the beginning, a very short beginning when I was using that, and then with cream fresh I used it as before the cream fresh I used vanilla swirl. That was my concentrate, also part to give that creamy break on sharp flavors, but the vanilla swirl added the same aspect that vanilla bean ice cream added. It added too much of the ice creaminess, the vanilla-ness that affected the flavor. Yeah. So with the cream fresh, it just gives you a clean canvas to clearly bring the fruits forward and give you that full rounded off flavor, where I would say without the cream, it gives you like the object, the form of the flavor. And if you add the creme fraiche, it outlines and not separates, but it outlines and pops the flavor to its best potential. So I use it as a single flavor tester. That's where it started. And to test my single flavors, I used to only mix creme fraiche and the concentrate. And I started working it into almost literally every recipe I have. I don't think there's one recipe I don't have with creme fraiche, even a drop or two. I use it in the same way I use my cactus and WS as additives. I would actually go as far to say creme fraiche to me is like the WS of coolants, the WS23. It's a very versatile, amazing concentrate for fruit specifically in my use, to pop the fruits, to bring it out, and a lot of the harsher notes on fruits, to bring them down and blend them without adding in that cream, that sugary cream that you get. Now with whipped cream, I get the whipped air creaminess, but the profile is flat. That's where creme fraiche carries that blank canvas, but there's something there. Whipped cream just it's the air with a little bit of cream. And creme fraiche it's very substantial on its own, but it does not take anything away from anything you add to it. It just complements depending on the percentages and profile that you're going for. It's very versatile, good concentrate as a permanent stash. You have to have it.
Yeah, you have to have this one.
For subs, you see, for me, subs on this one is a bit difficult because of specifically how well it does what it does. If I need to sub it, you would need to sub it with a combination like what you guys used to do before creme fraiche. You would definitely need to have a combination of a few things. But for me, I'm too spoiled with knowing exactly what it does, that anything else I will find a problem with. There's too much vanilla, or there's too much butter, or there's too much this. It does not matter what combination of cream I would try to replace with. It's very difficult for me. With that said, I don't think you can replace creme fraiche depending on what you're going for. But specifically for the use of fruits, I've recently found Oba Oba. And it's not described as a cream or cream base or anything. But what it does in fruit recipes, and I'm actually busy testing this with a few juices that I've got steeping, where I would mix normally creme fraiche in, I've replaced it with the Oba Oba. It gives a little bit of a fullness, where I said the fruits gets a more announced profile from
like
the background of the fruit.
The Uba Uba gives it a flesh, right?
Now the Uba Uba gives it a little bit of that depth that the creme fraiche was giving it, but the Oba Oba adds a little bit of that fizz. Don't think fizz in fizzy sherbet or even bubbles from a soft drink. Just, you have to mix it to understand. I'm very new to Oba Oba, but it adds a very nice feel to it with a fizz that works with fruits. It just pushes it.
That fruity acidity, you know what I mean? So
yes.
when you're eating a fruit, that acidity in the fruit is what makes it vibrant, right? So maybe that's what you're kind of looking for,
Yeah, but where marshmallow gives you texture? Now, Oba Oba is described as a fizzy marshmallow, or cross between a cream soda marshmallow or cream soda fizzy marshmallow, or a combination of all of that. Now, this it adds the cream, but it doesn't add the cream flavor. It adds the feel that I would expect from cream, but more in a marshmallow way, with neither of the two flavors. Then it adds this little fruitiness. That's the fizz. A little bit of fruitiness that just, it's very strange, very subtle, but it works very well as a sub for creme fraiche in fruit mixes specifically. If the creme fraiche was to bring the fruits down, just soften those rough notes, those harsh notes.
Yeah.
So for Andre on fruits, you can sub, in my opinion, Oba Oba. I'm still working on it, and it will give you more accurate results. But for fruits, I would call that a sub.
Okay. Yeah, but you're talking about, sorry, Richard, you're talking about when you're using creme fraiche to add body to a fruit, and you're using it very low.
Not as a profile. Not as a profile. I don't know what Oba Oba would do as a full profile. Yes, as a cream, not as a cream. But as what creme fraiche does in very small additive type of use in a fruit recipe, Oba Oba works very well. actually adds a little bit something extra that goes well with fruit.
Richard, what were you saying?
Just on Oba Oba, I think the one description I heard, which is very apt, is it'll never be a top note, but it improves everything that you add it to.
That is definitely true. I mean, like I said, I'm really only getting into this right now, but from what I've tested so far, it's very accurate to that. It does add in a magical way. It's like all these recent concentrates I've used is this magic key to everything I've been looking for. This is one of them. I'm really enjoying all these new concentrates I'm using.
But just in term, going back to cream fresh and in terms of single flavor testing, I've taken to just keeping a single flavor, 2% single flavor test of cream fresh, not because I need it or need to do flavor notes on it. I mean, I know this cream like the back of my hand, but just because when I'm testing other flavors, after I've done my single flavor notes on that, what I'll do is I'll put 6 drops of the other flavor and then 3 drops of cream fresh in the dripper, and then you kind of taste what the flavor is going to be like when it's mixed with a neutral cream, when it's solidified and smoothed by neutral cream. So that already gives you a very good pointer as to how is this flavor going to work with cream. So it just adds another dimension and another facet to your single flavor testing. So it's not only in my stash the whole time. I have a single flavor tester of it available the whole time because of its versatility in single flavor testing other flavors.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. I mean, Richard, I'll actually take up you on that advice. What I've been doing, to get an idea before I even get to the point where I'm mixing up, I'm taking the 2 bottles like this, right? And I'm sniffing them together, like
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah. That's the first test for me, is this one, and then after that, if I think, hey, these 2 are blending in my nose hole quite nicely, then what I'll do is I'll think, okay, cool, I'll take 1 drop of this strawberry and 2 drops of cream fresh, and I'll drip it on the back of my hand and give that a bit of a lick. And that gives me an idea of taste. I mean, there's going to be a lot of bitterness and stuff to it, but based on that, I've been making decisions on, how I want to start off this recipe. But I think, what Richard is saying there is important, maybe as a third step, So after you do the smell and the back of the hand test, then, you always have like a small bottle with some, cream fresh mixed up, and you can drip that directly onto your coil with a little bit of another single flavor, and get an idea of how these flavors will potentially vape together.
It's amazing how well separate flavors mix together when dripped into the dripper, one after the other. Like you put 6 drops of the one flavor and 4 drops of the other flavor. And yeah, sure, the first drag, it might, you might get the balance skewed towards the one flavor, but within a drag or 2, it evens out, and you get a pretty good representation of what those 2 flavors are going to be like together. I mean, it's not exact, but you don't want it to be exact. I mean, you just want an idea that you can build off.
Yeah, so we talked about, recipes is a difficult thing here as well, because, it's used in 120,000 on ELR. So, yeah, you can go and look around and browse through that. Just search cream fresh and ELR, and then, then filter by rating. And then you'll get an idea where this is used and how it's used in some of the top ranking recipes. But, yeah, it's used in almost everything.
So I just wanted to ask you guys, I know I would only sub it in one situation because I mix so much fruit. I know I can sub it in fruit because of how I use it in fruit. But now, do you guys have experience with it in higher percentages, let's say as a profile or as a cream? Reason why I'm asking is, what would you sub it with if you're trying to get that profile? Because what I'm using it for is not the main profile of cream fresh, more as an additive or a rounder or something. So it's easy to sub that, but in a main recipe, how would you do that with without overpowering it with some other flavor like the vanilla or ice cream or something.
One of the closest I found is cream milky. I mean, it's not the same, but it's it's the same ballpark. Put it that way.
Milky undertone, also similar. TFA whipped cream, not as much body to it, not as much texture to it. But as you're saying, if you're just using it as a bit of a texturizer, just to add a little bit of body to a fruit, and almost not really tastable, and there you can use a little bit of whipped cream. You can use a little bit of creamy milky undertone. That's about it, right? I don't know. Vienna cream is, I don't know, it's got a bit of an alcoholic nose to me, so I'm actually scared. I can't really even make out. I don't have any notes on it anymore. I don't use it.
Vienna's not bad for me. It's a little richer and a little denser than cream fresh, but it's not bad. For local people, local South African DIYs, the other milk I tasted that was fairly similar in that it's a fairly generic neutral milk without pushing heavy on the vanilla or without getting those sour cheesy dairy notes, is the ZA Concentrates milk. That's quite good, and that's quite close to cream fresh. But it's not available for international mixes, unfortunately.
All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for the show. A moth just attacked my face. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Have you guys got anything else that you wanted to quickly discuss? Cool.
No, thanks.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Any questions about Cream Fresh, its application, potentially recipes that you use it in? Even if you've got a recipe that you use it in and you really like the recipe, post it in the links below. Leave your comments in the links below. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.